I'm Mark Dowdle. I'm the front of house engineer for Gloria Estefan and numerous others during my career, but at the moment, Gloria is what we're doing.
So you're sat in front of an XL8 at the moment. Why an XL8?
Well, you know, I was searching for something that would give me the facility that I need to do the size act that we're in front of here, which is 100 inputs plus most of the time. And not many digital consoles would allow me to do that when digital consoles were first put on the market. The few that I tried, I used for quite some time because of the facilitation, allowing me a lot of inputs on a small surface. But it didn't give me the sound that I was used to from an analog console. So I kind of gravitated back to the analog for that reason until this guy came out, which is amazingly done to the point where it's not recognizable as a digital console listening to it. It's very unique in the digital world, and as far as its sound and what it gives you at the end of the day through these great mic pre's and the way the console was built and the approach that was taken to putting it together. It's almost like I'm on an analog console with the facilitation of being able to do the kind of large input bands that I'm used to doing. So I gave this a shot. They said it would sound like an XL4. They were right, and I'm as happy with it as I could be.
So this is the first tool you've used Martys Digital in any form?
It is, yes. It's the first time. We've probably done 50 shows on it so far, and each one just gets better and better.
When was the first time you saw an XL8 and thought, I'd like to have a go on that?
Well, you know, I saw an XL8 the first time in one of the trade magazines. And being a longtime user of Midas, I thought to myself, well, just that is enough for me to look into the possibility. So I got online, I looked at the console design layout, how it was facilitated, and immediately thought, well, I should give this a try and see, you know, what kind of result I can get, because I wasn't happy with what I was using at the time. So
when you actually got in front of it, how long did it take you to navigate your way around the console?
Having used digital consoles prior, some of that was helpful, some of that was useful in how this one is facilitated, but it took a couple of days really to get my head around it the way I needed to do a lot of inputs. So in the routing and that kind, just to figure out how I was going to do routing in different ways and forms, and a couple of days I felt fairly comfortable.
So when you first heard the sound from it, was it what you were expecting?
I immediately knew this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for. I spent a lot of time on XL4s and Pro 40s and, you know, all the old Midas products. I've always loved the sound. I've used other manufacturers over the years as well. I've always gravitated to Midas for the reason that they just have that musical sort of sound that I'm looking for. Uncolored, transparent, gives me what I want. The EQ is always fantastic. So I just thought, well, this is the one.
So what is your favorite feature of the whole desk?
My favorite feature of the whole desk is the population groups, which allow me to go directly to whatever inputs are assigned to that particular population group, instead of, you know, paging through inputs or going from one layer to another trying to get somewhere. You can immediately call up whatever input that you want to do any work on, you know, with the push of one button, and it's right in front of you. So I'd have to say that's probably it.
I've also noticed you've got a DN9696 on the rack behind you.
The 9696 has proven to be indispensable in the virtual Soundcheck and what that has to offer when it's a day where things are not quite going the way we hoped they would, and we're not ready in time for the band when they get there and the band doesn't do a sound check, that allows me to go through each input and do anything that I need to do prior to doing the show. So it's really an invaluable tool for me in that respect. And as far as the artist is concerned, it gives them the opportunity to record every show, multi-track every show, independent inputs on everything on stage, and then just we mirror image to outboard hard drives and send those off to the studio to be remixed so they can dump it right to Pro Tools. And 96K WAV files are, that's the best you can get.
So has the XLE and its facilities allowed you to experiment, do things you wouldn't normally do?
But no, I don't think I do that many odd things that you would find, other than maybe time aligning the bass DI with the bass mic, and two different microphones that are on the same instrument to put them in phase, that kind of thing, which this allows you to do, and I don't know anything else that does at this point. Things of that nature are not really tricks, but there are things that this console will allow you to do that you can't do elsewhere.
So you're actually using much of the automation within the desk?
I use all the automation within the desk. I've got, I think, 29 scenes in this show. I go from scene to scene during the show, and everything's preset. So I have a starting point. I end up with this band and the way the information comes at me, I end up mixing rather actively all the time. But having a place to start with this many instruments is invaluable. So, this console allows me to have everything set exactly the way I want it prior to the song starting, so that when it does start, I can just feel comfortable in the fact that I'm starting in a good place and I can go from there.
So transition from analog to digital has been relatively painless?
I wouldn't say that. The transition from the last digital console I had to this one was relatively painless.
So is XLE now one of your all-time favorite consoles?
The XLE is, by all means, my all-time favorite console that I've ever used, bar none.
Including the XL4?
It's so close in its sound that I would have to say yes. I mean, the XL4 was, for me, sonically, the best sounding console that I had ever used in the analog world. Translating that to digital, Midas did such a great job in doing that I have to say I have the best of both worlds. I don't know where I could go from there. It's exactly what I need, exactly what I want. At the end of the day, I get the results I need, and that's what matters.